In the 70s, oil was no longer water. As it had been in the 60s, the cost of raw materials skyrocketed. As a result, gasoline prices skyrocketed in the United States. Many Americans, not wanting to spend so much money on fuel, began to drain gasoline from the cars of their fellow citizens. You put a tube in the gas tank, put the other end of the tube in your mouth, pull, and life-giving moisture poured into the can. On the photo, made by photographer David Faulkner in 1974 in Oregon, we see local residents, father and son, who made a poster addressed to thieves. The inscription on the poster reads, "Gasoline thieves, be vigilant, we're ready for a fight." By the way, dozens of gasoline thieves were shot dead across the US in the 1970s. This woman's name is Mary Walkman. She lived in the town of Steubenville, Ohio. In October 1973, Mary showed photographer Eric Colonius the water from her well. The water was completely black and undrinkable. The water became like this after the Hanna Coal Company bought up the land around Mrs. Walkman's property and began mining it. The publicity helped Mary get compensation for her losses. This photo was taken by Leroy Woodson in the town of Birmingham, Alabama, in July 1972. Two-story wooden houses, trash along the road, a white Plymouth parked at the curb by some local underground businessman. Children play carefree in the street, and right above them, in the right part of the image, are the pipes of a metallurgical plant. The quintessential crisis in the United States in the 70s can be called a unique event that occurred in New York City on the night of July 13th to 14th, 1977. And went down in history as the Night of the Beasts. On the evening of July 13th, lightning struck a substation in the suburbs of New York, which led to a power outage in the entire metropolis. Already at night, tens of thousands of citizens, mostly young blacks and Hispanics, took to the streets and organized unprecedented pogroms and looting. It would seem that what is surprising about American pogroms, however, this time they were provoked not by a tax increase or another oppression, but by a common great misfortune. It was a shock to Americans that so many people lived among them, ready to rob them as soon as the lights went out. In the 70s, Harlem was considered the most crime-ridden neighborhood in New York. Nowadays, this not-so-honorable status has been transferred to the Bronx. However, even in 2021, it is not recommended for a white person to walk around Harlem at night. There were not as many emigrants from the USSR in Brighton Beach in the 70s as there were in the late 80s, but they were already there. The picture taken by the photographer at Brighton Beach Station seems quite symbolic. A dirty and painted train carriage. A Union émigré reading the New Russian Word newspaper in a vain attempt to understand why America was not as the dissidents had told us it was. A black American woman wary of her visitor from behind the Iron Curtain. I wonder what she's thinking. The crisis was a crisis, but life went on. Especially in LA, bikinis, rollerblades, skateboards, breakdancing became fashionable. Young people wanted to have fun, to live life to the fullest without denying themselves anything. In a photo from 1979, we see three Los Angeles beauties walking from the beach. In New York or Kentucky, they would have been stopped by the Vice Squad by now. But this is Los Angeles, the city of angels. Here you can do anything. This is the America of the 70s. Even from this small selection of photos, you can understand that life in the USA was very different and very complicated.